whole time, the whole thing was shadowing us, right behind us, right on the side of us. You could kind of see the thing moving through the woods.
All I can remember is flipping the light on, and I see this creature, and I knew in my heart, I knew in my mind, the whole night, this isn't a man.
And then this thing walks across the road, takes a turn towards us, and then leaps over a guardrail.
Went to look forward, and there was a big black thing, is all I can call it.
Welcome to Squatch-D TV, exploring the Bigfoot mystery each week with your hosts, veteran researcher, author, and TV personality, the Squatch Detective, Steve Culls, and from the Bigfoot Research Project of Kentucky, Chris Bennett. Sit back and buckle up as we bring you guests from around North America, discussing the Bigfoot phenomena, but not without a few laughs, too. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, November 29th, 2020. I'm your host, your guy, the Squatch Detective Steve Culls, along with my co-host, right down there, Mr. Chris Bennett. Hello, Chris, or up
Steve.
there, way up there.
Well, yeah, you're kind of up and below. Yeah,
no, I'm up and down. I'm more up and down than 16 bipolar people riding a school bus. But
did you actually eat any turkey this holiday?
No,
we didn't either. We ate ham. Wait a minute,
steak.
no, I'll tell you that. Yesterday I did eat a turkey sandwich, but it was from like sandwich meat. It wasn't nothing cooked in the oven. I don't think. But yeah, it was kind of a weird Thanksgiving. Normally everybody kind of gets together on Thanksgiving, but the way things are now, we just do what we can do.
That's it. Well, we had the COVID Christmas. We're gonna have a COVID Christmas, but we had the COVID Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So normally it was just, hey, you know what I'm gonna do is, since this is me and the girlfriend, let's just have steak, a good steak, and we'll still have mashed potatoes and all that.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And besides, turkey is always a good option for any time.
Absolutely. Well, we have a heck of a guest tonight.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to go up this way. Up this way. There we are.
Yep.
We got Charlie Raymond on tonight. Hey, how's it going, Charlie?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, our pleasure. And thanks for coming on and blessing us with your presence.
Take all that death. We got Charlie Raymond from Kentucky Bigfoot.
Yes, I'm outnumbered 2-1 with Kentucky versus the Yanks.
Well, maybe not.
Well, let's do the roll call as we usually like to do.
Yeah.
Of course, actually, Chris Noderer said he was first. Nice, great profile pic there.
Great.
Picked a bad week to quit sniffing glue. But actually.
Welcome, Chris.
Actually, B has our good friend B was already been in the chat room.
Yeah. But B's on YouTube though.
Yep.
And
Yep. So first on Facebook. Okay.
Chris might be the first on Facebook, maybe.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll have to give it first on YouTube first. And of course we got Tim. Welcome, Tim.
Tim.
And Chris, of course, Chris. There's the
Chris.
OT. What's up, OT? And we got Ken. Ken, what's going on? John.
Welcome, Ken. John.
That's a spider this week.
It is. Yeah.
Usually we got the Yankee logo. I guess he realized we had two guys from Kentucky on tonight, so he changed it. I don't know.
Spiders are cool.
Carrie, hello, Carrie. Good to see you tonight.
Carrie.
And, of course, Suzanne is on. Hello, Suzanne.
Suzanne. Good to see you.
She was on the way back. We got Ryan on. Hello, Ryan, my good friend, my old co-worker. Good to see you, Ryan. And David, whoop, whoop, back to you, sir.
Welcome, David.
So I think that's the people that have shouted out so far.
Yeah.
So we'll see. You know how it goes. Usually people start wandering in a little bit late.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we advertise the show so late, because people forget. I put Saturday. You put it out on a Saturday advertisement, nobody shows up. Everybody forgets. So.
Well, I mean, is Walking Dead still coming on Sunday nights? Because I'm not sure. Is it? Yeah. The only thing really that I'm really, religious about seeing is The Mandalorian. Every time they have a new episode, I'm over on Disney Plus. Mandalorian, go watch it.
So I don't know if you watch it, Charlie, but Chris and I have been talking about it. I mean, it's just what'd you think of this week's episode, Chris?
Oh, I liked it.
It was good.
I like all of them.
I mean, the last couple of weeks, they've brought these characters from the animated series into it. It's just pretty interesting.
Well, I've not watched that, so I don't know. But
I have, like, Bo-Katan and Ahsoka Tano are all from the animated series.
Oh.
So that's why people got such a kick out of it, is they're bringing that to life.
Yeah, I thought, having a Jedi warrior on there was pretty cool.
Yep.
I really enjoyed that.
See, if you haven't watched the animated series, you know who her master was, right?
No, I have no idea.
It was Anakin.
Oh.
That was Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Dude, we could do a whole show about this, but let's not. We got Charlie.
Hey, JC, the world's greatest Bigfoot hunter, is in the house. Hello, John. Good to hear from you, brother.
Good to see you. I was wondering about you. Worried about you.
So
hope everything's doing okay, bud.
Yes.
Good to see you. Man.
But yeah, so it's a lot of stuff bridging over. Like they mentioned Grand Admiral Thrawn this week. And he was from the actual book series. But let's get back to Bigfoot, because Charlie's like, I don't know what the hell these boys are talking about. They're nuts.
No, actually, I've got a tie-in to Star Wars.
Awesome. Well, let's hear it.
Chewbacca. Supposedly, George Lucas made Chewbacca in the likeness of his dog, right? That's what his lawyer told him to do. Mm-hmm. And I heard this from Matt Moneymaker, who came on one of my library presentations. He actually asked me, when are you doing your library presentation in Kentucky? I will call in and I will tell the audience about Matilda, the Kentucky Project up in Crittenden, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. All about that. And when he called in, what he said was, he goes, do you know when Lucas first came up with Chewbacca, it was actually a lizard man. It was not a hairy Bigfoot type creature. Oh. But because at that time, Bigfoot was so hot, he changed it to look like Chewbacca. Huh. So he, in a sense, he made Chewbacca in the likeness of a Bigfoot. Okay, now follow me on this. Yeah. If you know anything about Matilda in Kentucky, the Bigfoot sleeping and the close-up of it looks like a Chewbacca mask.
Yeah.
Thinks it's a Chewbacca mask. This is what Matt Money's telling me about it. He said, actually, his lawyer said, don't tell people you made Chewie in the likeness of a Bigfoot, because then you can't market the dolls, the toys. Just tell people you made Chewy in the likeness of
Your dog.
Okay, you follow me?
Yep.
Yeah.
What I'm saying that is people say that Matilda face that you see looks like a Chewbacca mask. It's the other way around. Bigfoot looks like Chewbacca. You follow me? So I think it's legit. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I tell me, I don't know if you've seen, have you been to Crittenden?
Yes,
Down at
I've been
that.
there. There's a shooting range, which happen. Bigfoots, they don't give a shit if there's people shooting. They're just used to us. There's a shooting range behind that property, back in the woods. It's a wildlife management area. If you drive in the backside, there's a gun range, and that's where the Kentucky Project was filmed. All the research came from, the DNA, the videos, etc., came from that area. And very credible scientists came in there and did see Matilda and some of the parents. So I do believe it's legit stuff. Unfortunately, the DNA fell through with Ketchum, all that shit. It kind of fell apart. But in other words, I do believe it's legit, but it doesn't really matter because we need a body now. It doesn't matter how clear of a video you get.
Right.
People are going to say it's hoaxed. And it's going to take a body.
Yeah.
Well, the very interesting thing is I actually have a tie-in to Crittenden as well. I was down there also at the time the study was going on, and maybe a story you haven't heard, but it's a very interesting story. Chris has a tie-in too to this.
Yep.
Wow, that was interesting. Everything just flickered for a second here on StreamYard. Must be a stream change.
Men in Black.
Men in Black again. They're here. Oh,
Trying to
RV.
silence us.
So yeah, and actually, it's no secret now that the doctor that was there, I know Dennis Foll was there, and I know Dr. Leela Sheikh was there, and that's no secret now anymore.
And they saw him.
They had a sighting that agreed they did. Here's the very interesting thing. I don't know the legitimacy of the original owners. I think they were playing it up more than what they were saying it for, and I'll explain why. Was that the cousin of the owners, his name escapes me, Wallingsworth or something like that.
I don't know. It'd probably be better not to say it anyways.
Yeah, it's fact. I mean, I have no qualm saying a name if it's fact. But he had brought a certain individual from San Francisco out there. And his whole thing was, next thing you know, the man from San Francisco had this guy. It was really the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life, because they were actually surveilling the group. When they were in the hotel, somebody was watching them in the hotel. Every time they moved, they were followed. It was really cloak and dagger crap. In fact, I did a show live many years ago, back in 2006, 2007. That show had happened, and I'm sitting there at the window. I'm watching the person watching us now. Bottom line short is that all of a sudden this mysterious guy shows up, says that he was the owner of the property, and said that all the Bigfoot followed him to his new property. And and he wanted $10,000 to say, hey, I'll let you on if you pay me $10,000.
Yeah.
We found out, where the Johnsons were, the one who originally owned the property, and you're not going to find the Johnsons because I'm just going to use their last names. We actually found the Johnsons, and it was the same guy that was, Mr. X. He called himself Mr. X. So, very interesting story how the previous owner, after getting a new house from Adrian and getting paid and all that stuff, ended up trying to soak somebody else for money too. So that always kind of put the crap around. I'm not saying that there's not Bigfoot activity out there. They may have very well seen something or experienced something, but their whole goal was to cash in on it.
There was a whole lot of people trying to come in and and rake in some green out of that deal.
Yep. And as a side note to that, Charlie, when the Erickson project started to break a little bit, Mr. Bennett got a call. And he said, and he gave me the name. It was the same guy. It was the cousin.
Yep.
And it looked like the cousin was trying to deal again another deal for Chris to actually have to come up with some money to come out there on their property.
Some money.
So very
money.
interesting story there behind that. But yeah,
I'm not used to that. You know, I'm used to like somebody. Well, not much lately because I don't have my hotline going anymore. But somebody would call and they would ask me they would tell me what they had going on and ask me to come over and show me something. You know, and never once did anybody say, I need you to pay me $10,000 to come look on my property. They were always like, hey, dude, come over here. I may have one. Check this out. And you know, and sometimes it's what they had looked pretty decent. You know.
Now, I gotta ask Charlie this question.
Mm-hmm.
Who actually shot the pancake video? Was that the family, or was that the folks there at the house studying?
Well, I do know Matt is the one who owned it, you know, for a while, and then he took it off the internet. I believe he sold it to Dennis, Adrian,
yeah.
for $10,000. But once money's involved and once they see dollar signs, I can't blame them. They're poor country folks.
Yeah,
and they're looking at a paycheck. But initially, I do believe the Bigfoots were there. There's so many stories. When Layla and Dennis Fold were in the car with the old lady, they were driving down the road during the winter, and they saw Matilda standing there. And the old lady got out of the car. She started singing to it because she had the same song she would sing every time. She got up trying to sing to it, and Matilda started, throwing snow at the car because, Matilda saw the other researchers there and did not take kindly to those other researchers there.
Right.
I heard when Adrian moved the family out of the house down the road, when they did that, the lady was still feeding them in the backyard. They're like, no, don't feed them. We want to do the research here, So many stories that had come out of there. And unfortunately, when Ketchum got a hold of the DNA, her lawyers wanted a piece of it. They were going to go to Discovery Channel, make this huge documentary. And then the DNA fell through. So, and then money got involved, of course. So, and I think that's going to happen everywhere. No matter where you get the best footage, the best DNA, it's not going to mean nothing until we produce a body.
Well, it seems a bit, and Quickwitty made it sounds too outlandish to him that what had happened. I mean, is it possible that they could have all been hoaxed? I mean, could it have been somebody in a costume that they get, because you think about it, you get so amped up, like, oh my God, there it is. And then the woman who's in the car singing to it is trying to, it's almost kind of like everybody's like, it's like a mass hypnotic type of effect. I'm just saying, it just sounds really, really strange because I've done research right next door to that house. And it's so bad that I remember call blasting out there, and the cousin was like, all of a sudden we hear, oh, 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 oh. And the first thing the cousin says to me, that's Bigfoot imitating an owl. And I just looked at him like he was crazy. Oh, well, that's an owl. So, to me, it given the history, I mean, it's so muddied. And, I did believe that it was actually the family there that had shot the pancake video. Because they apparently were showing it to everybody at their parties at the house that they were having after and this is information we got from witnesses in town, at the diner they used to hang out at, and everybody in the diner had seen, oh yeah, we saw the video. Well, we hadn't even seen the video, but they were explaining the video, which came out, eventually we all got to see it a year down the road.
Let me jump in here for a second, Steve, though, because that dude said that's Bigfoot imitating an owl.
Yeah.
It's possible, okay? It's possible that they could imitate the sounds of other wildlife, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I mean, I've heard plenty of barred owls.
Yeah, I know.
You know, and you have that, you know,
Yeah,
it was definitely a barred owl. There was nothing else to equate, you know, any Bigfoot activity. There was no footsteps, no other noises, nothing. And we had thermals out there, we had night vision out there, nothing, saw nothing. So, I mean,
you know, after the project was over, Dr. Bruns from Tennessee, good friend of mine, researcher, he bought the property and moved Sibylla Irwin, sketch artist, in the house to study the creatures. And she has sightings there since all this has happened. She also talked to the neighbor, and this is a really good story. A teenager was hiking back on the farm, and he went down into a creek, and he's walking this creek, and he hears splashing up ahead. So he sneaks up to this berm, and looking over this berm, he sees a adult female squatch standing there and a young one playing in the water, just like a mother would watch their child splash around in the water on its belly. And he kept watching. He was, petrified at first because he didn't have a gun. He didn't have his cell phone. And he was really nervous. He kept watching it. All of a sudden, the adult looked at him, made eye contact with him. And it raised his arm and yelled. And when it raised his arm and yelled, the juvie got up and sprang to the woods. And of course, the young man, ran off the opposite direction as well. Yeah. But that happened right next to the property there.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubts that some stuff was going on there. I mean, the area was prime. I don't know if the family had maybe enhanced it a little bit to draw that attention into it. I don't know. I mean, obviously they were looking for the buck, and like you said, it's not a rich town. Crittenden is not a rich town at all.
Yeah. I would love to spend some time over there, but man, that's a heck of a drive from where I'm at to way eastern. It is a long ways.
And if you go to neighboring counties further west of Crittenden, there's the largest cast collection in the country comes from Tom Shea.
Yep.
His cast collection, Meldrum has a copy of, Cliff has a copy in his collection. Cliff even said, Tom's the greatest Bigfoot researcher out there right now because he's got the largest collection of casts and handprints. Right. That happens to be like 2 counties over.
Right.
Yeah.
It happened,
And I find it, and I don't know, what's your opinion? I find it very discouraging that a lot of the social media, it seems like a lot of the new folks have gotten away from actual ground evidence, like casts and handprints and stuff like that. And they're drawing more to, look at this stick structure, look at that stick structure. I think it's got them lost. I mean, what say you?
Yeah, the stick structure is ridiculous. I mean, you get, each week you probably get a dozen photos of X's and some trees that have bent over. Right. And it's bent over this way, pointing this way. Oh, the Bigfoot says go that way because the tree's pointing that way. These are interesting creatures.
Yeah.
They're going to have to bend a tree to tell you which way to walk.
Yeah.
Because they're stupid. They know how to communicate and what they're doing. It's hard to find tracks. That's the problem. Tom, he's every day out in the woods in a really hot spot. He's retired, so that's why he gets all these tracks. But they are hard to find. Vocals are easier.
Yep.
One of the easiest thing to obtain really in an area is recordings because you can cover so much more ground just with a digital recorder.
Yeah, but and you know what the problem there is we're getting so many folks putting in audio that I heard one today and I'm like, that's a fox. They hear this shriek. Well, and then in the background you hear an owl, a barred owl at that, and and then you have these people, that sounds like a screech owl. No, it's not a screech owl. It was not a screech. Ow. I know my bird noise has been out there long enough to know. Ron Bowles made a great comment. It said, just like most, what started as legit money and hope for fame clouded the truth. And I think that was
May have been a lot to do.
big part of what happened to the ORV.
Right.
I think that's a very, very nicely summed up. There was stuff going on, but it got muddled by, people's ulterior motives, money. And when you start dealing with money, I mean, I believe, there was a falling out between Adrian and Matt over the ORV area. And I know there was at least one guy at the time who was very angry about the ORV area. And he supposedly was researching it and left the thing and blasted Matt and really caused a kerfuffle. And maybe that was because Matt was, turning it over to Adrian. And I think that was what the kerfuffle was over. But Adrian, what started as what looked like a great idea. I mean, I don't know why the Erickson Project never came out, at least on their own self-publishing, which was very disappointing. I mean, the networks didn't want to pick it up. They said it was too long, it was too boring, it was more, just from what I read. But what happened is why didn't we see more? And that's when the tie-in with Ketchum came in, and it made a big muddle. Matilda may be real, it may not be. But just because it has its association with the Ketchum Project now has kind of muddied that.
Right.
So, that's a caution to folks out there. Beware of, tying your evidence to somebody else's project. Let your evidence stand on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, whoever gets the best video, unfortunately, is not going to matter. You can get the best video now, and the same thing's going to happen.
Yep.
Money's going to get involved, and people, too many people are going to fight over it, and credibility is going to be lost. And it's just going to be you have to be really cautious if you get some high definition video, who you associate with and how you go about presenting it in the correct way. But even then, it ain't gonna matter. It's not going to matter.
Yeah.
Until we have a body, and I don't condone killing one. I don't want to kill one. Trust me.
Agreed. Yeah.
But to prove it to the scientific community, it's going to take a body.
Yep. And you're exactly right. You know what? I've talked to some folks who feel very strongly, we'll get a good FLIR image. That's not going to prove anything. Not enough definition. You get a heat signature, big whoop.
Well,
and the other kicker is, I think that, and like you said, even if money doesn't become involved and you get this great HD video, people are naturally just going to call you out as a hoaxer. Oh, you made this up.
Right.
With no evidence whatsoever. You get the greatest story behind it. There's going to be those few that are going to call it out as a hoax, regardless of any documentation, notes, storyline, or anything. Conversely, if you come out, and I've said this 1,000 times too, we've been deluged with these videos with no explanation whatsoever, and they're like 10-second clips or 15-second clips, and look, there's the Bigfoot. That's it. Nothing before, nothing after. That leads to it. That leads to some very big suspicion too.
Yeah.
But what's fun? It's just what's intriguing and attractive to us as researchers when we go out in an area, a known hotspot, and we have an interaction where we know that's not a person, that's something there knocking back. I'm knocking, it's knocking right back to me. You know the area very well. You got to, that's what's exciting when you get these vocal interactions and tree knocks and whoops. And I just did a BFRO expedition down in LBL, and oh my gosh, we had return tree knocks every night. Everybody was excited. The last night we had return tree knocks, and Suzanne, she might be in the chat right now. She was there.
Oh, Susie, yep.
She was there. She could tell you. Her and Lori went down the road. I sent them straight down the road. I sent two guys perpendicular to that, and myself and another guy went a different direction. And we went, pretty much all dark. We were doing some knocks every 10 minutes. We would do knocks exactly on every 10 minute. And they got two return tree knocks. Everybody heard it. And then right after they heard it, they were looking at a track. They thought it was a track. It was a track, actually, in the road. And they turned their white lights on just for a second to look at the track. And Larry Sidwell was up at the top of the tee and was watching them. And an 8-foot squatch took 2 steps, went right across the dirt road between them and Larry. And Larry's been on many expeditions, very credible guy. And he said, this thing was about 8 foot tall, 4 foot wide. And we reenacted it. I've got the whole follow-up coming out soon.
Nice.
Video. We did a FLIR reenactment with this guy that was with us. He's 6'5", at about 290. We had him try to take 2 steps across so Larry could gauge the height and everything. I seriously doubt that was a person hoaxing us because we were in a rural area. Nobody knew where we were.
Right.
And it was exciting. It's just it's the whole thing about this research stuff. Yeah, we're never going to catch one. We're not going to catch one in a cage or I don't want to shoot one. But just this whole thing is a hobby that's intriguing and interesting. And
the hunt is what's the fun thing. Getting the response, the experiences. And Suzanne wrote that comment down there too. It was intense.
It was intense.
Now, OT has a question as well, and at me saying, was the science flawed with Ketchum? Well, I would love to know, other than a peer review in a journal she owned, what was wrong with her science. Well, we
had a show on that.
Yeah. if you, B and Nikki also pointed out, you got to watch the episode with Haskell Hart. It was a couple of months ago. Yeah. He breaks it down quite concisely what was wrong with the project, that they were only looking at one particular marker, and it was kind of a strange marker to be looking at, but most of the markers either lined up with dog or bear or some other, ungulate. In actuality, that's what the other biologists and other DNA folks have looked at, including, what's his name? Dr. I didn't expect to come into this.
The guy from New York.
No, not just to tell. The guy from England.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah,
he did the bear, all the bear stuff.
Yeah.
It was all bear.
Oh, dang you, Steve! You've jinxed me now.
What did you say?
Oh my God!
Sykes. Brian Sykes.
Brian Sykes.
Yeah.
There it is.
Wow, yes. I'm glad to know. The DRS is all amongst us tonight. Yeah, I don't remember shit, and that was just one of the points. I'm like,
I think I may have some Alzheimer's or something going on because I totally blanked.
And we have just so everybody knows, Ken is in the house as well. Quick Witty's in this house.
And with Quick Witty, yeah.
And Lindsay, she's new. Welcome, Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
And she says, I think some of the scientific community have likely already examined several Sasquatch, possibly. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We're going to have a body because But I tell you what, I am excited about this new environmental DNA studies and stuff. Now that's cool. When they can go pull samples, DNA samples from a water source and run it and say, hey, we've got this unknown primate DNA here. That's not going to prove Bigfoot. It's going to prove that there's an unknown primate out there, but not Bigfoot necessarily.
Well, we've got here from Kentucky, unknown primate.
Yeah.
So yes, so if anybody's interested in the Haskell Hart, OT came out. Episode 38 was the Haskell Hart episode. So
38, yeah, 38. I think that's right.
That's about right. Yep. So yeah.
Before we go any further, I want to ask Charlie about eye shine.
Go right ahead.
Charlie, do you take reports or get reports of eye shine from people?
Yeah, but there's no way to prove what it is. It could be a cow, it could be a deer, it could be a raccoon. I mean, people are really poor at judging distance, height.
Yeah.
And, you could be in the woods and, there could be a ridge. It could be standing on it. It's a raccoon standing on a ridge. You just don't know. Unless you're there and you see the size of the eyes and you can judge the distance. And we do have some from Kentucky though. Down by Cave Run Lake, there's a YouTube video of the Kentucky Eyeshine.
Mm-hmm.
It was captured on a BFRO expedition. And what people don't know about that eyeshine, they had a sighting that day. They had a visual sighting that day, and a gentleman also who does Sasquatch bioacoustics. He listens to the audio. He can hear tree knocks in that YouTube video.
Right.
When they're filming that eyeshine. I think that's pretty compelling eyeshine if you ever look at it.
What color seems to be reported the most that you would think, Charlie?
We get a variety. It depends on the lighting and you get yellowish, whitish blue. I've even had green. I've had a doctor. And this is a really good story. He had texted me and said, "Hey, can someone please contact me? I just witnessed what I did not think to be in existence." I'm like, "What?" So he goes, "I'm a doctor, and I wish you would not use my name. But I was driving from Tennessee. I just crossed the border into Kentucky. It was late at night. It was I don't know, 11 o'clock maybe. I was the only one on the road for the last couple miles, no other cars. And I had a new vehicle with the bright halogen lights, so I could really see pretty good.
Right.
Saw some deer on the left side of the road. I turned and looked on the right side by the guardrail, and he said almost 9 foot up, large, iridescent green eyes. And he thought maybe it was a deer, but he never did slow down. He just kept going around the curve. Then he sees another set of eyes, almost like a blue tint to them. But the second set, the set that he saw the profile of the face.
Mm.
It had a heavy brow. It had the sloped sagittal ridge.
Right.
And he said, I'm also a biologist. I worked under Davis, who studied echolocation with bats at the University of Kentucky. So I'm also a biologist, along with being a doctor. He goes, this was what I would call, a Bigfoot. But people, Bigfoot, which I did not believe to be in existence until I saw the profile of this thing by the guardrail. And then he saw a third set of eyes as he went around the railing. So he saw 3 sets of eyes. One was iridescent green, blue tint to it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the third color was, if it was also blue or green, but so I get different reports of the eye colors. It just depends on the lighting, I guess.
And I think Steve and I are the same way, man. We've got all. I usually try to ask people, what color would the eye shine, because that's something I'm really fascinated. And they're all different colors. Now I've seen red, but they've been blue, green, white, all kinds of different color reported. And I think it just depends on what color light hits them.
Yep. We do have a couple of questions queued, Chris, but I want to ask. I want to ask Charlie a question too. Did the doctor ever say what he was driving, what kind of vehicle he was driving, or what kind of lighting was on the vehicle?
I'd have to go back and look at them.
Yeah, because that would be important to me. I would think that maybe he was using one of those blue headlights on a vehicle. I mean, he's a doctor. Usually they don't drive, the POS or the Hyundais. They drive like Audis or Mercedes, and they usually have, or even the Escalades, they have those built-in blue headlights. So I'm thinking that the blue eyeshine was directly resulted from maybe the type of lens in the car that was projecting, and that was like bing. That's just like one of the. So a couple of questions we have. First is Quick Witty, who says, "Does Charlie think Southern Sasquatch or Southern Sasquatch are more aggressive?"
I laugh because people think Kentucky is a southern state, which
it's right on the line. It's right on the line.
No, honestly, I think they all have different temperaments. They're like people. They're individuals. It depends on the individual, the location. I do think if you keep encroaching on their territory, they're going to get more aggressive and bluff charge and push trees over, throw rocks. And but then we also have Bigfoots in Kentucky that are friendly. And I'll give you one example. Everybody knows this story. In Anderson County in the 60s, Mr. Tyndall walked out in his backyard, and this Squatch walked out of the tree line and raised his hand and then walked back in the tree line. And of course, nicknamed him Howdy. So the nice part about that story is you fast forward to 2011, 2 teenagers moved to Kentucky from Florida. They knew nothing about Bigfoot in Kentucky at all. They were in their backyard right around dusk, and this Squatch walked out, raises his arm, and walks back in the tree line. And it's not far from where the first sighting was taken in the 60s. It's less than 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So that's a friendly Bigfoot we have here. We do have other accounts here of them attacking people. I got one for you. I'll try to make it short, but this hunter was overseeing a property farm that was in distress, was boarded up. He had the keys to the gate. He said some locals said on Saturday night about 3 a.m., a lady came home to her trailer and was attacked by a large animal. And they called EMS. They got there. They took her away in the ambulance. All the neighbors had, heard about it. They came outside. Some large animal attacked her. And he got a call the next morning at 6 a.m. from Fish and Game. They said, can you open the gate to that farm that you own that adjoins that dirt road where the lady was attacked? We need to get back in your farm. He said, sure. He gets up. He drives there. I don't know if this is true. He passes 2 all-black SUVs, passes them up, meets Fish and Game. They've got semi-automatic weapons, which I'm thinking he's pulling my leg. I'm like, this sounds too far-fetched. And he said, thank you for opening the gate. You may leave now. I go, man, keep me abreast. Let me know Monday and Tuesday what you find out, because he knew the sheriff deputy. He could find more information on this. Well, come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the story changed to a meth bust.
Huh.
So all these witnesses who were out there, the neighbors said it was a large animal that attacked her, right? And all of a sudden, the law enforcement, it changed to a meth bust. Why was Fish and Game called out to a meth bust?
That don't make any sense.
I don't know. I don't know. You ever think that perhaps that maybe there was a meth lab in there somewhere and they were investigating the sighting and then they came across the meth lab and they were like, okay. And, that's a possibility. So I don't know, it's like without really knowing the whole story from, being there. I mean, the only way we would really know what happened was being there. So that may be one explanation. And I know my son is a state forest ranger, and they have police powers as well, and they have firearms as well. So, even if they were doing a meth bust, they may have called Fish and Game there for backup, just to be on the, in case they encounter animals or whatever. Because I'm sure some meth labs have dogs on there that are probably not too friendly. So that would be one idea, coming from that type of background, working with law enforcement. That's how I'm thinking, how maybe what would explain Fish and Game being there, if it was, or it could be, hey, we went back there and hey, holy shit, there's a meth lab back there. So we better back out and get the troops in here. So who knows? It's very interesting though. More questions.
I hope the lady turned out all right.
Yeah.
We never did find out what happened to her. But.
And with medical records, it's really hard to find out. That's one of those things that, even as a private investigator, I can't cross because of HIPAA. Unless they have the medical release.
Yeah, sign that release. Yep.
But that may be a good. Yep.
I just want to add where this is. I've got dozens of Bigfoot witnesses. Dozens.
Nice. Yeah.
The same area over decades. I've got my own encounters there. Not visual, but immediate return tree knocks multiple times. So I know there's some Bigfoot back there. It's one of the places I go now to this day. Yeah. Fact is, I'll just tell you, there's so many stories, but
it's what we're here for.
Yeah, man.
Last expedition, a lady said, my brother had a sighting And I'm not going to mention where, but she said, I go, where was it? And she told me, I go, oh shit, that's right where I researched. Can he call me? A couple of weeks later, I got a call. Thank goodness I answered. I thought it was a solicitor, and he mentioned something about the expedition, and he mentioned his name. And then I put two and two together. I go, oh, this is the guy. He now lives in Ohio. He was an engineer at a company here in Kentucky. He worked a late shift. He was driving home at 3 a.m. down this road where all these Bigfoot sightings are. And he said this Bigfoot was walking along the road by the white line on the right side. It kind of took a step towards the white line, but as his vehicle passed it, it stepped back over. He just saw the back of it. He had a Ford F-250. He had to look under the windshield to try to see its head. He could still not see the head of it. It was so massive.
Wow.
Walking, this guy, he never told anybody about this, but it's family. He didn't seek any attention or money or fame. Right. He just contacted me only because his sister came to my expedition, and he thought I would like to know about it. He said, please don't use my name again. He's an engineer at this company, and I respect that. But I get so many reports of that where people, they don't want any attention. They don't want fame. Right. But they want to tell somebody like myself or like you guys who believe them, who listen and validate what they're talking about. Because I told him, I go, man, you don't even know how many Bigfoot reports I have in that area.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you saw a Bigfoot.
Yep. And it seems, you're BFRO, I'm BFRO, and it seems to be a lot of the sightings reports now are all, I heard this knock, I heard this vocalization, I heard this, and it really, unless you have it in some context of, areas, it really means nothing to us. To me, it's like, you get one out in 3 counties out, and I heard all this noise and whatnot, or I found tracks, but there's no pictures or nothing like that. It gets very, very disappointing sometimes, and you wait for that sighting report for the person that actually got eyes on. Yeah. And a lot of times, and you probably have the same experience, a lot of times you'll get people that will report it like 10 years after the fact, and that's kind of disappointing because now you lost the trail a bit.
Right.
So,
well, it's like the last BFRO expedition I just hosted. I had a witness that I interviewed back in May. Well, he had the sighting in May this year, which is recent in Bigfoot terms. I interviewed him, very credible guy. His interview's on my website if you want to listen to his interview. And then that night, my buddy and I were right there at that same spot. We had howls, crazy ass howls right in both sides of us, and tree knocks with the howls, not coyotes. I believe there was a squatch, couple squatches around us. I recorded that. That's in the video too. You can listen to it. So I'm like, wow, this is a prime location to put this expedition. And I put the expedition there. Sure enough, we get return tree knocks every night, immediate, clear return tree knocks. And then Saturday night, Larry Sidwell had his sighting. So you add it all up. You got to add it all up.
Yeah. One of my most amazing experiences was actually in Land Between the Lakes. My God! And again, I didn't get eyes on, but it was the most amazing thing. We go out and we're pushing out complete darkness, and we knew there was somebody else, and there was a group of college kids up in a camp, maybe a quarter mile up the road. So we start hitting about that area. And they're all in the woods. We can see, they can't see us, but we have the night vision on. So, and they're all in the woods with flashlights, like looking around. They're looking for something. And then all of a sudden we hear back from our camp, towards our camp, I should say, bang, 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 tree knocks. We're like, what the hell? We left one guy back there. We're like, he shouldn't be doing tree knocks.
All right.
So we go back there, and he's still standing in the camp. And his eyes are like big as saucers, and he goes, it's coming from over there. So we're like, okay. So we're kind of hanging out. And now I'm putting one and one together. I go, we got the kids that must have heard something because they're all looking around with flashlights over there like they heard something. Now we got a tree knock over here. I wonder if one is trying to say, hey, I'm over here. And one of the guys said, let's take another push up the road. I said, he goes, what's on your mind? I'm like, I think we're actually between two of them. Because we got the tree knock over here, we have the kids over on this side. I got the lake in front of me.
Yeah.
So, all right, we wait, nothing happens. All right, let's go take a walk. We walk maybe 125 feet out of the camp, and we hear, coming through the camp, we hear, something run through the camp from that side where the kids were searching to the other side where the tree knock was going. Mm-hmm. And it was like, boop, 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 gone. And, we heard some brush crash. Now, was it a Bigfoot? I don't know, but it sure was friggin' weird. And it was a cool experience. And I think you, like me, we go out there for these experiences most of the time. Not to necessarily bring home the prize, but
I spent one night researching in LBL, and man, it is a great area. But unfortunately, since it's like 2.5 hour drive, I can't get over there like all the time.
In case people are wondering, LBL is the land between the lakes area.
Yes,
yep.
In Kentucky,
and it's right on the Tennessee's on the other side of the water, I believe.
Right.
Kentucky Lake.
Yep. It's just a great area, and I've heard some pretty aggressive ones out of there too. Bart Nunley does a lot of research out of LBL. Of course, he's into Dogman and the other stuff too. I know we got more questions. Oh, Ron Bowles had asked a question a while back. Your first BFRO expedition, where'd you go?
He knows it was with him. That's why he asked it. It was in Missouri, and I remember we showed up. It was pouring rain, and before I went on a BFRO expedition, some of my friends were teasing me. They're sending me pictures of these really nerdy people with the tape on their glasses and the pencils in their pockets. You're going to meet all these nerds, and we got there late at night. It was raining, and they're all sitting under these tarps. And I didn't want to get out of the truck because it's real intimidating walking up to all these people we don't know. But I will tell you what, man, the nicest bunch of people in the world. Ron, he literally would take his coat off and give it to us if we're freezing cold. He actually did that and gave us his coat. These people are knowledgeable, intelligent. You've got people in there that are doctors and professionals, and I was blown away by their intellect and their knowledge and their sincerity and how serious they take this research. And I learned a lot. I met a lot of great people. I learned a lot of research techniques from researchers in the BFRO, and I'm thankful to them for that. But that was a great experience. I think, what's that one called, Ron? The Blue Man? The Bigfoot there? I think there's one called the Blue Man. It's been so long. They all have different names every place you go.
Yeah. The Heidi Behinds. I heard that one too.
I never heard that one.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So Cryptidville asked, what was the LBL you speak of? I just mentioned that line between the lakes. Suzanne said LBL was every bit worth a 9-hour drive. Another question.
Ron said Blue Man. Yeah.
Now, Lindsay asked, when will your next be your next expedition?
In April.
There we go.
April, what is it? 12, 13, 14, 15. April.
Kentucky?
12, 15, Kentucky. I cannot disclose the location.
Obviously, yep.
It's a different place I go to. I've been to this other place the last 6 years, and you're going to think I'm exaggerating, but anybody that's been on these expeditions with me will tell you we get return tree knocks immediate. We get whoops, whistles, trees pushed over, rocks thrown. I've had, let me think about this. Yeah, 4 visual sightings on the last 4 expeditions by credible people, by multiple people.
Yeah.
And people, I posted this on the BFRO just recently, and some people get on there, trolls, How do you these guys are hoaxing it? How do you know you're paying money? They're hoaxing stuff. No, bullshit. You go there, you know the people that do it, you know me, you know my reputation. If we were caught hoaxing, we're done.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. My reputation means everything to me. I don't make any money doing this. This is a fun hobby. So my reputation is worth any amount of money. So you have to be there. You have to know how these things are run. You have to know the people. But these aren't hoaxes. Now, yeah, there could be misidentification, but we got to rule it out. We do our due diligence. We reenact what the person saw. We take measurements. And we chalk it up as a sighting. We think it's a legit sighting. So, yeah, that's in April. If you're interested, people can contact me. I don't have it advertised right now. It's almost full, basically. I've had so many people contact me recently about going. We got about 40 people that go. And I get people all the time. That's BS. You have 40 people, right? You go in the woods with 40 people, nothing's going to happen. On the contrary, when we go out, we don't use white lights, flashlights. We break up in teams. We use thermals. We don't go out yelling and hollering and banging on drums all the time, shooting off fireworks. We're really discreet. All you have to do really is hike at night and act normal, laugh, maybe play some music by the fire, cook some food. Yeah. Their curiosity is their biggest weakness.
Yep.
Yeah.
While highly intelligent, we're in their living room. Okay, Jack Smarr's great. His quote. He goes, "We're their entertainment. We're their TV. We're in their living room."
I've said that thousands of times.
And if you got people going different directions, like I did the last BFRO, I had two girls. They go down this trail. You two guys go this way. You two guys go this way. And when we got the return tree knocks, I think they got a little nervous. The one Squatch, after he knocked twice, he felt maybe threatened because we're spread out. We're kind of surrounding him. And he ran across that road, and we had a sighting because of it.
Yep. Wow. And just so you know, Suzanne said Charlie ran a top-notch expedition. Very grateful. So
thanks, Suzanne.
Wow. Yeah.
It's
another good one from Lori Russell. Charlie's expeditions are very professional and always amazing.
Yep, there is.
Lori was there with Suzanne on that.
Hey, you know, as a card carrying BFRO member, maybe I'll have some time in April. I'll see.
Yeah, you've got to come, Steve. I mean,
yeah, it's been
the place I go. You too, Chris. Fact is, if you guys want to come, I have a guest speaker each night.
Okay. Awesome.
I know I charge $100. It covers your campground, covers dinners, covers breakfast. So for $100, you get breakfast, you get dinner, you get your campground for 3 days, 3 nights, and we have a guest speaker each night. If one of you want to come speak, do a presentation,
people want their money back. People want their money back.
that guy up there, he's like the PR guy. I'm just the dude behind the scenes, man. I'm uncomfortable about being on camera here. You know.
I twisted his arm though. I did.
Well, Steve, if you want to come speak, let me know.
Yeah. That sounds like a blast. Let me. I think we can make that happen. And I don't know how far you're from Lexington. I haven't been to Scarefest in a couple of years, but when I go, come on down. You know what? I would love to. Usually when I go to Scarefest, I do a presentation. Mm-hmm. And usually either on a Saturday or Sunday, I would love to have you do a co-presentation with me, just talking about Kentucky stuff. Because that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm moving. I might move there right by Winchester.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to be
a nice area.
Be your neighbor pretty soon.
So, yeah, that'd be awesome. So let's look at what the chat room has been talking about. Quick Witty says 40 people does sound like a lot, but I've always preached. You got to look at primate behavior. And their curiosity. When a primate hears something strange out of the ordinary, and Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong, they hear something out of the ordinary or smell something out of the ordinary. And that's why people say, well, why you're smoking on the expedition? Because they're just going to get interested in what's that?
Yeah.
That is, and you're right. I've said this 1,000 times. We're their TV. You know, without that, and you know, it's kind of interesting. I have found, and I want you to hear this theory and tell me what you think. You know, I believe that their rock throwing represents a couple, three different things. One is they're being playful, because I've had kids, you know, a couple of sightings from people years past when they were little kids felt rocks being thrown at them, and usually that was accompanied with the sighting of a little one. I remember that her name was Sue up in Whitehall, and we talked to her mother and everything, and she took a lie detector test on the Monster Quest and passed, but she was getting pelted with rocks, turns around, and there's this little, you know, 4.5 foot creature sitting there jumping up and down all excited, kind of very primate-like. And the other one is aggressive. If anybody ever watched Bigfootville, about Bigfoot in Oklahoma, we've heard about that. You know, if something goes whizzing by you pretty close, pretty fast, and they're trying to intimidate you, I think that's part of it. But one other thing that I find really, and I've actually experienced it, is years ago I had a researcher friend of mine down in Oklahoma who had set up a generator and a TV in the middle of his camp. And he put it out a distance, and he let that play overnight. Nothing happened for 3 nights. So on the 4th night, he didn't play it. He just left everything quiet. And the next thing you know, he's asleep in his tent, and all of a sudden he hears, like, pebbles coming in. And he gets out, and he's looking around, and it stops. So back in 2014, I got the team around the campfire, and they all go out, and me and one of the other team members stays back, and all of a sudden we're there just quietly in the base camp, and then all of a sudden we hear, and it was a big, I got it on my shelf behind me over there, this big baseball-sized rock came winging into the west end of the camp. And I think what they do is they do this to probe. Let me throw something, see if there's any reaction. And, you know, I've caught that in audio in 2011 where something seems to fall, and then you hear these slow footsteps. And we get this slow little grunt. And then you hear those footsteps away. So I think they throw rocks sometimes just to see if somebody's there.
Steve, you know what's funny? What you just described, I've had that happen.
Yeah.
I've heard other people. And, you know, you can't make that shit up because you're saying exactly what I heard what happened to me. You know, so I do believe you're correct. They probe. Sometimes they're playful. Other times, when you're fishing down their fishing hole and the big boulders come from the other bank, kaboosh.
Yes, I've seen that too, yeah.
They want you out of that fishing hole, you know. So
I've actually seen that being. We got in a FLIR video in 2013. I was there another time in the daytime, and maybe at 20, you know, if you're looking at, you know, 12 o'clock, maybe about 2 o'clock. All of a sudden we actually saw the rock hit the water. It was like this huge rock, and we're like, what the heck was? And it was in the middle of the day too, which was very disconcerting. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They, you know, their curiosity, and I've said this too: if something goes boom, you know, what do? We all look out the window, see what is a little bad animal scamper away. Well, Sasquatch are the same way. That's in our primate nature to go, you know, what's this? To investigate. Yeah. So,
and what you just hit upon, you know, I'm sure you've had large trees pushed over, and
I've only had that once happen to me, and that was actually in Massachusetts. I was out at a site, and we kept hearing tree knocks and movement and tree knocks and movement. And I said, you know, we were stationary, and finally I said to the folks, let's just take a walk up the road. And as we walked up the road, that's when the tree came down.
Right.
And it's like, it didn't want us there.
Right. And when you hear that, but it's an innate, we don't even have to think about it. You know something big did that.
Yep.
And I've had bluff charges. I've had large branch breaks, you know, huge home run knocks, like bam. And it stops you in your tracks, and you don't even have to think twice. You know, right away, that's a big creature that did that, and you turn and you walk away. And people laugh at me for that, but I don't care. I'm not stupid. You know, I know if they get upset with us, I'm going to respect them, obviously, and I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if you're out in the woods and you're close to their area and you hear a tree fall, you can step back and say, oh, wow. You know, they say if a tree falls in the woods, then you hear it. You know, I was so lucky I happened to hear a tree fall. And then 15 minutes later, 100 yards over, another tree falls. Mm-hmm. That's time to leave.
Yeah.
Hey, have you guys heard? I've heard this a couple times. A loud thud, like something hit the ground, like a boom, just massive. But you don't hear any branches break. You don't hear anything flying through the woods. It's almost like it stops.
Yes.
Or I don't know what it is, but it's so loud and so deep. It's like a thump.
Yeah.
Well, I'm wondering if it could be a chest thump.
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds like somebody stomps the ground.
It could just. Yeah.
Well, we had that experience here, Charlie, with me and a bunch of my buddies was coyote hunting, and something was going on. It's something weird. You know, people were getting like a weird odor, and then it's nighttime. We're coyote hunting.
Hey, look who's in the house.
Who is it?
Nani, good to see you. We haven't seen you in a while. I was just thinking about you. I was like, where the hell Nani been?
But we all heard this big stomp, and like everybody looked at each other. What the heck was that, man? I don't know. And so after that we leave, and we're all back at my house, you know, doing what young guys do, late at night. Well, anyway, we were standing out in the front yard, and we was trying to. Each one of us was wearing combat boots, and we were like stomping the ground, trying to recreate. And none of us could stomp that loud. Right. None of us.
Yeah, like what is that? I mean, are they trying to intimidate us? Hey, real quick before I forget, Ron Bowles just sent me a message, Steve. Oh, okay. He said if you come in April, he will come to my expedition.
Okay, well, let's make it so. We'll make it so then.
All right, Ron, you heard it.
Let's make it so. It's far enough in my book. I can put it in the book and go.
Good. Put it in, write it down, circle it. Let it be written, let it be said, whatever that saying is.
And then the night I go back, I'm stopping off at the Bennett's house for chicken wings.
You got it, man. We got an extra bed too.
Oh, it's gonna be quite the last night. Ooh. I'll make sure I'll bring some of our Canadians. Well, no, actually, I can't say that because my favorite bourbon comes from Kentucky.
Yep.
What is it?
I love Jim Beam honey.
Oh my gosh, I'm right by Jim Beam almost.
Come back with 6 cases.
Well, I'll buy you a bottle if you come speak.
Yep. All right. And Ron says Kentucky will never be the same.
You're not gonna hurt it.
Yeah. All right, so there it is.
Great, that's exciting.
April 12th, 13th. I'll get the whole. I'll get it all in my planner. So that
the
is
chat room is hopping.
It is. Everybody else wants to come too. Sean says I've heard of them bounding into slopes, waking up tenters. One of the most interesting stories I actually got was from a Navajo Fish and Game warden up there, and I remember him saying, he goes, and those guys are a lot more open than the tribal Fish and Game are a lot more open than the governmental ones, the federal government. Yeah. And they were like, I had to go up. He goes, we had these two people tenting, and it snowed a little bit up there because this is in Arizona and the Lukachu guys. And he said, they said if they could get their stuff because their camp had been trashed. Well, Nani, do me a favor, Nani. Email me, admin@squatchdetective.com, admin@squatchdetective.com, and I'll chuck it in the mail. Give me your address. I keep saying I got to get that to her, but you disappeared. Yeah. Throw me your address. I'll send it over to you. because I don't hang out too much at the Stewarts anymore. Yeah, I don't hang out at all. Never have, but COVID kind of keeping me away from hanging out a little bit. So, but yeah, so he goes up to the area and he found, what he called large, and Native Americans call them foot tracks. There's all these large foot tracks, and the camp was just tossed. And I think part of that is like the rocks falling. You probably threw some rocks; they weren't there, so we went in, had a look, had a toss, and I think that can explain some of the people who have. Some of the stuff.
But don't you think they're accurate enough to hit you if they wanted to?
Absolutely.
Did you believe that? Like, if they really wanted to hurt you with those rocks?
Yep.
Yeah, to me, it's kind of like a guerrilla bluff charge. They're charging you. They don't want to hurt you. They'll run past you if they catch up to you. So I really think that, no. Ron Bowles is up to some mischief, I think.
What's he doing?
Yeah, Charlie laughed. But yeah, so
I think if a Sasquatch wanted to bean you with a rock, I would say you'd probably be beaned. Right. But I've never had them throw one at me that I know of. Now I did get on video one time of the sound. It was out of the visual range because hey, I'm in the woods. But the sound of a rock hitting the side of a tree, I mean, it was loud. And then you can hear the rock bouncing for 8 or 10 times after it hit that tree. So whatever threw it with a lot of force. But like I said, that was probably anywhere from 50 to 100 yards away from me. And, there's no way he was throwing it directly at me. No way.
Right.
But, I've never felt threatened, though. I mean, a lot of people feel threatened or something by them. But, and I've read these reports about people being bluff charged, but that's never happened to me. I don't know that maybe they weren't really worried about me or something. I don't know. I don't know. Hey, I am the king of not a big name. That's me.
Yeah.
That's the way we like it, baby. Charlie, before we get going any further, I gotta, before I forget. Now, I wanted to ask you about sightings. Now, a lot of researchers will go their whole career never having had a sighting. Have you ever had the blessing of having a sighting?
Or the curse.
Yeah, or the curse, yeah.
I would have many sightings, but I will tell you this. There's been so many occasions where I'm 3-4 miles back off trail.
Right.
And I get tree knocks and they're coming closer. I'm knocking, they're coming closer, they're whooping. And I get nervous and I leave. And I've had dozens of encounters like that where they've come real close. And unfortunately, I don't hold my ground to see one until about a year ago. This was down in Henderson, Kentucky. It was on a Sunday in February. It was last February, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It was actually like 67 degrees out.
Right.
One day, we stopped on this bridge and looked down this creek, and about 75 yards down the creek, 2 black figures lumbered across the creek, completely black, head to toe. Yeah. And the sun was behind us. It was the perfect situation. They're a little far away. So we drove around to one end where they were going. We parked, we hiked back in there, but there's a swamp. You couldn't get back there. There were no hunters back there, no vehicles. So then we came out, we drove around to the other side where they came from, parked, hiked in, more swamp, no trucks, no hunters.
Right.
And where this is, there's been, many Bigfoot sightings in this area. Yeah, well, that could have been 2 people, but because of the distance, I couldn't tell for sure. But I was pretty optimistic that those were 2 Squatches walking across that creek.
Yeah,
their gait and so forth.
It wouldn't be very likely that 2 people were dressed in black completely from head to toe. Mm-hmm. I mean, there would be something, they would have tennis shoes on, or or you could see the skin on their face,
Exactly.
But,
There's another Southern term.
What's that, man?
Tennis shoes.
Yeah, tennis shoes.
Up here in the north, we call them sneakers.
Oh, no, Snickers is a candy bar.
That's Snickers.
Yeah, Snickers is a candy bar.
Unicorn, isn't that the organization that oh no, that's UNICEF. I'm sorry.
Now, do you say pop or soda?
Soda.
Yeah.
Now, for our folks in Ohio, they say pop.
Yeah, up north it's pop. Down here it's soda.
Oh yeah. Today's episode of Squatch-D TV is brought to you by Ski. All the sugar one could want in one sitting.
Yes, 5 times the caffeine of anything else I've found. Don't drink coffee; too weak.
See, I knew my change of hats would elicit that reaction.
Oh man. Well, Kentucky is really, although a lot of people consider it a southern state, we're really kind of in the middle.
We got a question from Twitter. Hello, Dante Donati. Donati. Good to see you. Welcome. And got a question. Couch or sofa?
Yeah. Couch.
Chris?
Well, both really.
Boy, you got to complicate things, don't you?
No, really. I call it both.
I call it the couch.
I got one. Is it big feet or big foots?
Neither. It's Bigfoot. 10 Bigfoot, 20 Bigfoot, 30 Bigfoot, or Sasquatches. No.
Sasquatch pie.
I usually say Bigfoots. Bigfoots.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Now I have a question for Lindsay. She says she's in Alberta, Calgary, Alberta, and my question is it a bout or a boot? Now we can a little fun breaking the Bigfoot action.
Oh yeah.
But I find that a lot of people like in the New York City area they call it a sofa.
Yeah.
But up here we call it a couch.
Yeah.
I have a slight Bronx accent because my parents were from the Bronx. So the word that usually gets me the most is the word BALL. Because I say ball. And I think most people say ball. I say ball. Baseball. And you can tell the difference. It's like, oh yeah, for years I've been saying ball. And people say ball.
Well, hey, dude, man, you should get over far eastern Kentucky, over in the mountainous regions. People say, and I love this. I'm not making fun of them whatsoever. They'll say Ewans. Like if they want to ask how you're doing, they'll say, "How's Ewans doing?"
Kindly.
And I love that. I really do.
They like to say kindly. Can you kindly stop by my house today and pay us a visit?
I love that.
Oh, Sean, that's a low blow. Coucher for your Red Sox fan.
Oh. But people talk different, and that's fun. It's fun. And when I was in the Air Force, one of my best friends in the world was from Long Island, New York, and you could not ask for two people to talk any differently than me and him did.
Wow.
And we got along so well. But sure, he made fun of me when he was trying to emulate my voice. He would talk real hillbilly. Hell yeah, dude, no bar,
Now, I've met some country folks here that lived in the country, born raised for 80 years, and she used the term botten. Those are botten potatoes. I mean, tomato.
Botten tomatoes.
I'm like, what are botten tomatoes? What's that? She said they're from the store. They're botten. And I thought she was just country and making that up until one day I worked at a school, and the English AP English teacher was sitting there. She says, "No, that's old English. That's old English that she's using. Like children, botten. That's a real word."
Yeah.
So some of these people, you think, "Oh yeah, it's just country slang." No, it's Old English.
Yeah. Ron just piped in. Mind if I borrow your truck?
Borrow your truck. Yeah,
Hey, you mind if I borrow your truck? See, I can, I spent so much time in the South that I can, Chris, I can pull it off a little bit there. Chris can. I'll just talk about this the rest of the night, and I'm just like everybody else. See, but you know what? None of you yet has hit you with the widget, did you? So.
B says, I say Ewans.
Ewans. I say y'all.
I love that, dude. I love that. Yeah. How Ewans doing? Good, thank you.
Howdy, y'all. How Ewans doing?
I love that.
Oh, our other Canadian. USA, huh?
That's right.
Hey,
So, anyway, back to the Bigfoot.
Oh, okay. Break's over.
Oh, jeez. Is it dooryard or driveway? I've never heard it called a dooryard.
no.
A dooryard. That's the new one on me.
Now, you really want to get screwed up, but I don't see our friend from across the pond today, Frank.
Yeah.
But hello to Frank. I know you're out there. You're probably going to be listening to this in replay.
Yeah.
So hello,
We'll
Frank.
catch it later. Hi, Frank.
but I had in 2011 I went to the UK to do a show on the Loch Ness Monster. I had a team that we put together, and we were going to go do a bunch of things in the lake. And would you think that you could speak English there? You're like, huh? What? Huh? Number one, they don't say thanks. They say cheers. So when somebody, cheers. I learned really quick that a lot of people don't know here is that they very rarely say the word truck.
Yeah, it's Chuck. Chuck.
No,
With
it's
no R.
It's lorry. It's lorry. Lorry is what they call a truck.
Oh yeah, big
and
truck.
you'll see signs that say no lorries. I'm like, what the hell is a lorry? Oh, and they'll say, no, that's what you would call a truck. Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Pardon me for asking.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me dumb it down for you, Mr. Coles. That's what you would call a truck. Oh man.
But lift. Lori, the cheers thing, give me $5, or no, they don't say bucks. They say quid. So if you hear somebody say it's 10 quid, it's $10 or 10 pounds, and it's just really, and you gotta. It takes a little while to go with the way the inflection, the speech inflection, like huh, oh. Like I can segue right into the South and understand everybody. Yeah, it's not so easy in the UK, especially when you get to Scotland and then they have the Scottish accent.
Yeah.
You're trying to figure it out,
dude. Y'all should have brought me along with you when you were looking for the Loch Ness Monster, because I could have got that dude. I mean, you got to go after him Kentucky style, man. Just get out there on the lake in a flat bottom boat and start lighting dynamite and chucking it over the side. Eventually you'll have one float up.
Right. And the other thing too is we use a lot of metaphors when we talk. It's hotter than hell out here, or you can bet your bottom dollar and stuff like that. You talk like that. Yeah. They don't understand that. And then they have their own set of metaphors. So it's very different. People would think it's just like, but yeah, there's some things that I didn't understand that. Very interesting. So anyway, so
nobody asked Charlie how he got started in this yet.
No,
nobody cares.
Nobody cares. No, I purposely didn't ask that question because that's the question I usually come out with. Oh,
yeah. Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder there, Steve.
But you already asked the eye shine question, so I'll ask it. How the hell did you get involved in all this tomfoolery and Bigfootery and?
Well, I grew up down in South Florida, where the skunk ape. So I heard stories as a kid. Then I watched, In Search of Leonard Nimoy, a lot of the documentaries as a kid. But I never did research. I went to college, went to Florida, went to Gainesville. And right there in the Ocala National Forest, there's the mecca of Bigfoot sightings. But I didn't do any research then. I was too busy having fun in college. And then I moved to Kentucky almost 35 years ago. And when I moved to Kentucky, I wanted to know where the Bigfoots were because it's really squatchy here. I formed the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization, made the website. I started getting all these reports, and I was blown away when these witnesses would call me and spend 2 hours on the phone and the excitement in their voice. And then they'd meet me, like they'd agree, hey, we'll meet you there. And they'll drive 2 hours to meet me, for me to, meet them, document their encounter, not for money, not for fame. They were just thankful that I listened to them. And that got me over the top excited. And it just snowballed. After that, the more reports I got to, live vicariously through these witnesses, got me more excited. Then I started getting my own interactions. It's addicting. It's I equate it to gambling and fishing because, my degree's in psychology, and the strongest reinforcement of behavior is intermittent, unknown reinforcement, when you don't know when that reinforcement's coming, like winning a jackpot or catching a fish. So squatching's like that. You never know when you're going to get a whoop or whistle or return knock. And that's the strongest, reinforcement for behavior. That's one reason why I think a lot of us get addicted to this is once we start experiencing these things, we just can't stop doing it.
Yeah. See, that's really a great synopsis. Is some people get into this because it's the same gene as the same thing as the gambling thing. You don't know what's gonna. My own reasoning for this was purely, I'm curious by nature. I'm an investigator. I like mystery, and that's. But here's a little known fact. There's our good friend Alan Gaines. Says he's a fellow native Floridian. The little known fact: Gainesville was named after Alan. So.
Well, if that's true, that's congratulations.
Good. Another good comment from Don Neal. Charlie's professional who's approached squatching and running the KBR. We're honored to have him here in Kentucky.
Oh, Don. Now, Don, I gotta tell you, Don is a lead investigator for our group. The nicest man you'll ever meet. Very professional, very intelligent. He's an ordained minister, so he preaches the gospel by day and he hunts squatch by night.
Oh wow! Very cool.
Yeah.
Edward just said, Alan just laughed.
And Don's done presentations for me, and also he's spoken at libraries. He ties it to the Bible. A lot of people think, how is this related to the Bible? And he goes into this amazing presentation and all the ties to the giants in the Bible and the Nephilims and even stuff I never even heard of. He digs out of the Bible, and so there's a good explanation of what these creatures may be.
Right. He believes in the Nephilim, correct? Is that the whole theory behind
Possibly. The Nephilims or some of the other giants, and there's a lot of references to giants in the Bible. So Don does it better justice than what I do it.
Yeah.
Because he's a minister.
All through, yeah.
and one would understand why he has that angle. Yeah. Unlike Melba, who says she has the DNA of Nephilim.
Well, if she's considering Bigfoot maybe Nephilim, that's right. But, I don't think she had much anything though.
Yeah, I mean, to me, they're just these crazy bunch of non-social primates out there that just don't want nothing to do with us. And,
what I tell people quite a bit. All the eyewitness encounters that I document in Kentucky, the face-to-face or the close encounters, most witnesses, almost all of them, said that had human-like features, a wide hooded nose, not a gorilla nose, but more of a human nose. And I think they're really closely related to us. They're not. It's not a gorilla. If it was a gorilla, we'd have it in a cage by now. And in the last 50,000 years, there's been 7 different hominids on this planet. We're one of them. I think Bigfoot is maybe the 8th one that has not gone extinct.
Right. And I know you have the whole creation thing, and that's plays into it. So people have some definite religious values into it. So I get that. I'm kind of one of those constructional creation people that
it's a theory that people have. Where does Bigfoot come from? Is it talked about in the Bible? Very well could be. Yep. Very well could be.
Right. And there's new, they're discovering new hominids as we speak. Yep. I mean, every time you turn around, there's another hominid that doesn't fit in. Change of all the textbooks. Everything's changed now. Where does this hominid fit in?
Right.
We're learning new things, every year.
And I just was recently talking about this on a forum somewhere about the DNA study that they did on the Denisovans from the cave in Siberia, and how that they found so much out by breaking down that DNA. That we now know that they interbred with Neanderthals, right. And we know that modern people have some Denisovan DNA. Some modern people have Neanderthal DNA. Yeah, that's true.
Some you can see it.
Yeah, and there's another one. When they were breaking down,
there's a certain used car salesman from Arkansas that would be the exact stamp of a Neanderthal.
But when they were breaking down this DNA into segments, they found an unknown segment from an ancestor that has not been discovered yet.
Right.
That we don't know. All we know is, hey, we haven't found everything yet. Could that missing primate section be Bigfoot? It could be. But the only thing we know for sure is there's something still out there to find. Yep. And that means, that could put if it ends up being Bigfoot, that means Bigfoot might be a hominid.
So there's this big, the big debate was, for me, that's why I turned around and took it down to the primate level for behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because to go any further up, we don't know if it's pongid, hominin, we really don't know. Or maybe something completely in between that we haven't found out. I mean, there's the Gigantopithecus theory, which truthfully, it looks a lot like an orangutan to me, a Gigantopithecus. But Cliff Barrickman had the Paranthropus idea that maybe it's Paranthropus, possibly, or
something we don't know yet.
Exactly. You just don't know. That's the exciting part of this. Is where does it come from? Right. To me, if we come to that conclusion where we do get one, or somehow proven that we can start finding out more and more. And, and I know people, and even to me, it's reprehensible that one would be dead on a slab. I really wish that we would find one dead recently, and then we can use that to examine rather than per se having to kill one. I think it can be done. There's a lot of questions too that I have. People talk about, well, do they bury their dead? That was a big question that's floating on. Personally, I don't believe they bury their dead, because if they buried their dead, with all the digging we've been doing, we would find eventually their bones, because burying their dead preserves the bones.
Yeah.
So
what's interesting about that, though, Steve, along the Ohio Valley, we've got hundreds of newspaper articles of these giant human-like skeletons,
right,
that have disappeared. Where are all these skeletons that you find the newspaper articles of these giant skeletons, human-like skeletons, 8 foot tall, massive jaws, 2 rows of teeth.
Yeah.
Where do these things go? We don't have them.
I can tell you exactly where they're. Probably in the uncatalogued section of the Smithsonian Institution in the basement, in a drawer somewhere. Probably that's where they are. Because and I think they have something like 76,000 bones on record at the Smithsonian that they haven't classified yet. And if you think about it as well, the Gigantopithecus. Let's go to the Gigantopithecus. What have they found in 100,000 years? Have they found a vertebrae? No. Have they found a femur? No. Have they found, a humerus? No. Have they found a cranium? No. What they found is a couple of mandibles and some teeth. That's it.
And I forgot who told me. It might have been Cliff. He said Bill Munns, when he made that replica, he asked him, "Why'd you make it standing upright?" Oh, just because. He had no reason. There's no scientific evidence that this thing was standing upright on 2 feet. Actually, he just made it that way. So, based on its jaw and teeth, how do you know it was bipedal?
That's the problem. Yeah. See, we got these reconstruction experts that can take and figure out a whole skeletal structure off just a few bones, and that seems kind of like stretching somebody's credulity to be able to do that, in my opinion. But hey, these guys are good, and can they do what they say they do? In most cases, yeah. But to construct a whole skull off of a few teeth and a few pieces of jawbone, it just blows my mind. I don't see how that.
See, Chris, I can understand if a forensic anthropologist can do that reconstruction for a human, because we know what humans look like. We have gauges, but for these unknowns, how would they figure? Like who came up with before? I mean, how do we know what the Gigantopithecus look like if all we have is a jawbone and teeth?
Right.
We're guessing.
Well, all we know for sure is evidently it was big.
Yep.
But there's also some argument about tooth size. Just because something has big teeth doesn't mean it has to be, a monstrous, hulking, huge size.
Right.
It could have just been in an area where the diet was mostly rough vegetation, where it would have to have big teeth to get the nutrition. But it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why we do this. It's intriguing. There's a lot of unanswered questions. The more you do this, the more questions arise, and I think that's what's attractive. It's research.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the next question comes from Robin Rose, our friend and another friend from Canada.
Robin.
Charlie, have you heard of Sasquatch inbreeding in Kentucky? I know lots of talk of inbreeding in Oklahoma. I'm sure it's not a direct correlation to population. I think that's very relative, no pun intended. But of course, us being children, we have to chuckle.
Sorry, Robin.
It's like if somebody says the word penis, everybody chuckles.
Well, you do hear moans. You hear these moans and screams, like what's going on? Your imagination it goes there. But I'm glad he brought that up, because Kentucky is unique. We have large pockets of forest everywhere, but they're really not all connected unless you take the streams and creeks to connect them. It's not like the Pacific Northwest or Canada, where you have vast wilderness. Kentucky is like isolated pockets everywhere, surrounded by neighborhoods and shopping centers and interstates. And so I believe in these areas where I've got documented reports, Anderson County there by Lexington, the largest number of Bigfoot sightings in Anderson County, Kentucky. Same behaviors. Witnesses witness the same physical characteristics over decades. So I do believe they stay in the same areas, roughly speaking. It's too risky for them to migrate, south, for the winter, to go down to Florida for the winter. They have to kind of stay within the couple counties. And if they keep inbreeding, I do believe in the next couple 100 years or so, they're going to go extinct in Kentucky, because it's hard for them to find another clan to reproduce with. It's risky to go out and cross interstates and go to another county. They don't even know if there's a clan there. They're just guessing. So they're going out looking for another clan to reproduce with. They might find one. So I just think they're going to eventually go extinct due to inbreeding and so forth in this part of the country. I might be wrong. I don't know.
Good question, though. Great response. You know, when I hear that, I think of a story the late great J.C. Johnson was talking about some sightings that they had in Lower Fruitland, in New Mexico, in the cornfields. There was a native family that kept seeing them coming in, and there was one they described and. That he described it was kind of walked oddly. You remember the story? And had the droopy mouth, and he believed that one was inbred because it was just or maybe had a developmental disability. You know, so very very interesting observations there. And he used to have nicknames for all of them too. It was kind of funny. But one of the most amazing we were talking earlier about some of the stuff about people seeing the same characteristics 30 years later and stuff like that. The late Dave Drageson, I miss Drag. He used to sketch Sasquatch runs, and he took a report of one who said that the Sasquatch, she got a good look at his face, had this like lip problem and had like a cut lip or something like a scarred lip. And 8 or 9 years went by. And somebody else reported a Bigfoot. And when he was talking to them, she had seen this thing having a scarred lip as well. And it was very close where the other one was seen. So it's very, very interesting as to, you get those correlations. And, for researchers, and Charlie and I, we're all on the same page on all of this, is that we both understand what evidence is and what coincidences, and there's a hell of a lot of coincidence in all of this, and that's why interaction amongst researchers, no matter what they feel it should be, and I think that there's people that believe in they're Nephilim, there's people that believe they're primate, some people believe they're Pongin, hominin, or even the paranormalists that think they're something supernatural. I really think that at least talking about some of these sightings get enough to where we can start grouping these commonalities in. And then you have a few that stand out that just don't meet the fold. So that should be exceptions. Like I think of Henner Fahrenbach's, bell curve study, or the statistical study. Should be a bell curve. And you get a few ones that are out there that we can just take and go,
right,
let's rack them out of the study, and let's stick to the ones that are seeing the commonalities we see every single time. The problem is that we have so many people in there seeing them in their mind now that we're starting to get this whole nother dynamic into it that's not real data, I don't believe. Or there's other, here's a question: infrasound or not? What do you think? What do you think, Charlie?
Yes. Fact is, if Ron is still listening, Ron got zapped. I don't know if he would share a story, but he was zapped. I know other people that were zapped. We know other large mammals emit infrasound below, it's sound below 20 hertz. You can't hear it. So we know other people have experienced this. I believe they can do it.
Yep.
I've got too many witnesses, credible witnesses that have experienced it. Now, the one thing to get a caution on, I will say this. I've had people out there squatching and it gets scary and they get, there's a big adrenaline rush of fear. And is that the fear causing it? The panic attack? Right. Or are they getting zapped? So you got to kind of look at the individual, the situation. Is it strictly fight or flight, or are you getting zapped?
Yep. Yeah. Chris and I both have had the ear flutter.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, like, my ear is like vibrating very.
Right.
Chris had actually mentioned it before me, and I'm like, damn, Chris, like 3 years later, it happened to me. But all of a sudden, I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, you hear, that's my ear going. And, I have to stick my finger in the ear to get it to stop. But
right.
That was followed by not a fear, but, I feel like I'm being watched. It's kind of creepy here. And I'm feeling kind of sick to my stomach, too. So you get all these type of feelings.
So that's something that I considered before, too. Could it be a result of your body's response to the sighting, or could it be something that they were doing to you? And in one case in particular, when it happened to me and Tommy, at the same time. This was prior to a sighting. Something hit my left ear. Tommy was facing me. Something hit his right ear. So both of those ears were pointed towards the creatures, and that's when we, looked over. So that happened. That fluttering happened just before the sighting. So we weren't even aware they were there yet.
Can I ask you guys? I've had this happen where I've been by myself in a known location, miles back, middle of the day, nowhere near a road or housing or just deep woods, and I hear a slight hum, one ear, just a hum, like a mechanical. It almost sounds like a mechanical hum in my ear. I've heard that twice in the same area. Now,
I may have actually caught some of that hum on a recording before. Because the digital recorders, they can actually hear some of that infrasound sometimes. And they whatever they do, they process it and it comes out like sound. And I have not necessarily heard it, but I've heard it on a recording. Like, what the hell was that? And it's just like a mechanical, like bing, 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 and
bing.
gone.
Yeah,
just stuff I can't explain necessarily. David Winter said he flutters after Taco Bell. No, you mean flush. You flusher after Taco Bell. Lori Russell said we felt it directional too. We were facing different directions. We felt it in our respective sides.
Yeah.
Now, what Lori's talking about is that last expedition. Lori and Suzanne felt a presence. I'm not sure if it was before the tree knocks or after the return tree knocks. If to ask her, I don't know if it was before the tree knocks were returned, but it was before the sighting. So before Larry saw the thing run across the trail, both women experienced that uneasy feeling.
Gotcha.
Before it actually happened.
That's very interesting, and that's some great corroboration there. It's like this happened, and paranormal researchers do that all the time. Is that because they in the paranormal research field, you have to deal with a lot more feeling than you do actual evidence per se or physicality. So to match that physicality in with people's personal experiences, I think is huge. Again, is it evidence? No. Is it stuff you maybe put up on a website? No. It's stuff that you talk to your fellow researchers about and you come up with this consensus. Okay, this is what to expect. If we understand what to expect and what's happening and what's going on, that's going to further our cause. And that's why I love talking to people like Charlie, who's been out there for many years. Yeah. Because there are so many commonality things, no matter if it's in New York, Massachusetts, Kentucky, Arizona, wherever, Oklahoma. It's all.
I wanted to ask Charlie too. Have you ever got any reports from people that said that the Bigfoot disappeared in front of them into a portal or anything like that?
No, and again, gosh, I've been doing it for 3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
I have over 400 reports on my website where I contact the witness either by phone or in person, sometimes email. I do a follow-up. I deem it credible as far as I can. I post it, but not one of those has someone said it vanished into thin air.
Right.
Form.
Yeah.
Now, I've heard other stories from other people who've said that, but I will tell you this. I know we all know they belly crawl. They go down real quick to all fours. They can step on a tree. They're super fast. There's something called cryptic coloration, which animals through adaptation, their hair can bend light or refract light around the creatures, and they can blend well, which I think Bigfoots have taken advantage of that over thousands of years. And I think we're dumb humans. We look where we step all the time. We talk. We look around. We're not very slow and cautious as we should be in the woods. See one, in a blink of an eye, it's gone. It doesn't mean it went through a portal. It could have just stepped behind a tree. It could have went down on all fours. They're so quick. You get that from so many witnesses, how fast they are. So I really don't think they're stepping through a portal. I just think they're the masters of disguise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like the deer crossing the road. I say this all the time too. Deer crosses the road. You're in front of your car. You're driving along. There's a deer across the road. You look over there to see where it's going. 90% of the time you can't see it.
It's gone.
Blends right in, and it's not hiding. It's not belly crawling. It's not hiding behind a tree. It's not doing any of that. It's just being there. But it's so well blended to its.
It's deer portals, Steve. Deer portals.
Kenny Collins asked, "Have you ever gotten gifted? Have they ever?"
Oh, let me think. Let me think. One investigation, we just had walked on this trail. We walked on it. We come right back, not even 10 minutes back up, and there's a feather stuck in the trail, sticking in the ground. And we just walked right through there. We walked back, and
interesting.
I
My one time is I say that this is a great expedition. I was with Melissa Hovey, Wayne Larson, Jeff Thomas from Georgia, and we were all up in the decks, and we were filming. My team was coming up the next night or the next day. We were filming the Nat Geo, which became Monsters and Mysteries Unsolved on Destination America. We were filming that. And the day we came in, it was pouring rain, and the crew really, and they did quick interviews, and we were trying to collect all the birch we could. In New York, we have birch, the white trees, because their skin contains oil.
Yeah.
So if you can get enough heat under that, even if it's wet, it will burn.
Yeah.
Once that oil opens up. And I remember we were collecting all this birch, and Jeff had kept his stuff in his Jeep. And he goes out, he kept his pillow and his blanket in his Jeep because he didn't want it to get wet in case his tent decided to leak. He goes out to his, 11 o'clock, he goes out to his Jeep. He collects his pillow and a blanket, and he goes back in and goes to bed. That was the same night that was the same night I had woke up and I had seen the 5.5 foot one running between us and the campsite and the cars.
Yeah.
And it was just really brief. I saw it. I was like, no, it can't be. And, I'm just going to go to bed and go back to bed. The next morning, Jeff is yelling at us, look at this. Something behind his Jeep had left a birch log. And he says, I would have tripped over this thing because it was right behind his Jeep. He wouldn't have been able to open his Jeep up and without tripping over it. So it wasn't there at 11 o'clock at night. There's very little travel on that road. We would have heard anything that came up and down that road. And here's this log the next morning. So very interesting. And we found the actual muck that it had pulled off, and it was actually in like 2 or 3 feet of water. So that was interesting in itself because none of us would have stepped in that water pond to grab that log. So it just showed up. So was it helping us? Was it playing along, watching us collect all this birch, and then all of a sudden I decided to grab one and leave it by the.
Gonna help out, yeah.
Gonna help out. So, very, very, interesting thing. The next day we got a big slap on one of the cars. Something, and we were trying to, if it was something like an acorn or something like that, or a pine cone, it wouldn't have made a lot of noise, but if it did, it would have left a definite dent. I've had an acorn fall on my car and leave a divot in my roof, and it didn't even make a sound. It just went, and that was it. And look at that friggin' divot. This thing it sounded like it was an open hand slap on the hood of the car. Bang! And that was the next night. And we were all talking, we were all tired from filming that day, but I remember us all talking, we ought to leave something out there for see what happens. And we didn't. We completely forgot. And the next day, bang! And we caught that on audio, too. It was kind of funny. But, so, Charlie, any last, we're wrapping up in our last 5 minutes of the show. I appreciate you coming on, brother. Is there any projects you want to promote, any websites? Now's the time.
Mainly, if you know somebody who's had a sighting in Kentucky, I encourage you to go to KentuckyBigfoot.com and submit your report. I specialize in documenting encounters. That's probably my niche in this field. is interviewing witnesses and documenting their stories. So I encourage you to go to KentuckyBigfoot.com, submit your report. I will contact you. I got the expedition coming up April 12th through the 15th. It's not advertised anywhere. Right now it's word of mouth and it's almost full. So if you really want to go to a really hot spot with some credible people like Steve and Ron Bowles who might come, contact me.
So, okay, there we go.
And I would like to add that on Charlie's website at KentuckyBigfoot.com, it's got all the sightings from the different counties in Kentucky and places where they do a follow up. Man, they've got some good photos, and they'll do recreations and stuff. It's great.
And Charlie, if you don't mind,
highly recommend it.
And if you don't mind, Charlie, I'm going to throw your site up on my page too, as well as a link.
Okay. Also, a quick plug. I started the Canadian Bigfoot Research Organization with Lindsay, who was in the chat there.
Awesome.
Her and I are co-founders of the Canadian Bigfoot Research Organization. So if you know somebody up in Canada who's had a sighting, please go there and submit your report.
There we go. Wow.
Very cool.
Awesome. Chris, you want to do your wind up?
Well, just want to thank everybody for sharing. Sorry, I'm reading the chat room. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight, and sure do want to thank Charlie Raymond for coming on. Excellent guest, Charlie. Thank you so much. And if this is the first time you're watching us on YouTube, please hit the like, subscribe button, share. It helps us out, and it helps make the channel better. We sure appreciate it.
Sure does. And yeah, folks, guess what? We have a guest for next week too. But before I go into that, I want to thank Charlie for coming on. Yeah. And, I wanted to connect with you for a while now. We've done it. I'm looking forward to April now. Give me something to do. Get out. It's a little warmer in April in Kentucky than it is here in New York. That's for sure. So it'll be a little bit of a vacation from the winter that we just passed. That's coming up. So that's going to be awesome. And I get to meet you, and I'll get to see Mr. Bowles and give him some crap for no reason at all.
Just for the heck of it.
Just for the heck of it.
Well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, anytime. And next week we're going to have on our good friend, hasn't been on the video portion, so this is going to be really fun. We're going to have on Sean Forker next week.
Oh, Sean!
The Fork Chop himself. So that should be a funny, hilarious thing because Sean and I go way back to, I think, 2004. So we're going to have a lot of fun with him, and we'll be talking about Bigfoot in Pennsylvania and what he's been up to. So it'll be an awesome time. And he has a very interesting spin on a bunch of things. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll have to drop the bombshell next week about never mind. The car sales group.
Oh yeah.
But anyway.
Later time. Yeah.
Later time. So, folks, on behalf of everybody here at Squatch-D TV, we want to wish everybody a happy and safe week. Please mask up if you're in a COVID area. Please mask up. Keep your social distancing. We want to kick this thing's ass out of the USA. Yeah. So everybody act smart too. So again, be good. God bless. We'll catch you all next week, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Facebook.com, Steve.Coles, YouTube.com/Steve Coles, Twitter.com/SquatchDet, DET. And we'll catch you all next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, with Sean Forker. That'll be episode 48. We'll catch you all next week.
Folks, you've been watching Squatch-D TV. Join us each week, Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, for the latest on the Bigfoot mystery. As always, we thank you for being our loyal viewers and encourage all to subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/Steve Culls. As always, have a great week. Stay safe. God bless. And keep on